Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Welcome to the Tinker Shed's attic. You know, it's getting towards the end of March here. The weather's really improving and I need to get my DR650 back out on the road so I can test some of the modifications that I did over the winter. Now to do that, really all I need to do is get the fuel tank back on, get the side covers on, and away we go. So today, I'm going to install my Safari tank back onto the bike, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to plumb it up with fuel lines, and I'll even give you my thoughts on the Safari tank over the Acerbis tank that my friend Carl has on his bike. So why don't you sit back, grab something warm to drink, and enjoy Dino's Tinker Shed. This thing's a huge tank of a tank. I gotta get it down. Oh, I hope I don't fall. This Acerbis fuel tank came with my DR650 when I bought it. It had both the standard fuel tank and it also came with this optional fuel tank that the previous owners had used for long distance trips. Now, it's a 30-liter tank, which almost triples the amount of fuel that you have in a standard tank, and it's been really good for me. The tank itself is rather expensive. To buy one of these new, they're close to $1,000 Canadian by the time you pay taxes and all that on them. But they really do turn the DR650 from a dual sport into a true adventure bike for someone who doesn't need a lot of horsepower and just wants fuel range. They're a really good product. Now, this fuel tank, it's really impressive. When you see the sheer size of this thing, it's massive. And when I get it on the bike, it's usually the thing people ask me about the most. You know, why do you need such a big fuel tank? Now, there are 3 or 4 different manufacturers of oversized tanks for the DR650. The only reason I have a Safari tank is because it came, again, free with the bike. But I really like it, and I think if I was looking for a very large capacity fuel tank, this is probably the one that I would strive to achieve buying. Now, my friend Carl bought an Acerbis tank, and there's nothing wrong with Acerbis tanks. It's a very nice tank, but he does have a few complaints with it. Most notably, the fuel cap doesn't seem to want to thread quite right onto the threads of the tank itself. Now, I think over time it'll sort of work itself out. The more times you have this on and off, the better it fits. Now, when this is on the bike, everybody's really concerned about the weight. You put all this weight up high. Now, the thing I find about it is I actually don't notice that weight too much, especially on the road. If I'm riding on the road, I don't really care about the extra weight. And if I know I'm going on a day where I'm riding off-road, I may let the fuel tank actually drain down a little bit so that there is a little bit less weight. You don't have to put 30 liters into it. You can easily put 20 or 10 liters in if you really want it, if you want to make the bike a little bit lighter. Now, the one thing I do like about this Safari tank is, at least the one I have, is the dual petcocks. Now, this allows you to drain both sides of the tank equally, or you can keep one side in reserve if you want. Now, last year when I hooked the tank up, I had a fuel filter on this side and a fuel filter on that side, and I really wasn't pleased with how I had the tank plumbed. It just looked a little bit, I don't know, clunky to me. So this year, I'm going to try something a little bit different. I'm going to take you along while I put this tank on. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to walk through how the tank installs on the bike, and then how I'm going to plumb it up and get this thing ready so that I can go out and actually do some riding with the bike instead of just wrenching. Okay, give me just a minute, I'll get the bike set up. Now, one of the differences between my Safari tank and my friend Carl's Acerbis tank was this cross support brace right here. This isn't part of the DR650 normally. Now this brace runs clean across to the other side of the bike and has a fork that fits around the down tube. Now what this brace does is it offers some additional support for the sides of the tank so they don't flex and they don't droop too much, and really tightens and makes the tank much more rigid. It just threads up into some threaded inserts into the bottom of the fuel tank. And I am not sure if the larger Acerbis tanks come with that type of a brace. I'm not sure. But certainly it is something that makes the tank much stiffer than if it wasn't there. And I really think it shows the attention to detail that Safari puts into creating these larger fuel tanks. Now, as with the stock tank, the first thing you do is put these rubber pucks on here for isolating the tank, and they fit into these pre-molded grooves on the inside of the Safari tank, very similar to the stock tank. Now basically you just set the tank down and wiggle the tank up onto those rubber pucks. Now Safari's notorious for having a hard time getting these back bolts in. I use a small pinch bar here just to move the back of the tank forward so that I can get these bolts in place. Now you want to make sure that you include the rubber washers that came with the stock tank to make sure that these are isolated from vibrations, but basically you just kind of wiggle it up with that little crowbar and it falls right into place. This tank support runs, like I say, right across the whole tank. And I have it fastened already on the other side, just loosely though, so I can still move it around. Now in between the tank and the support are these little rubber washers, and they just sort of fit in like that so that the tank isn't directly sitting on the aluminum. Now these can be a little bit challenging, as the tank can, as you can't really see it, but it's actually a little bit like this. So I need to push on it to actually get the tank to a point where I can actually fasten that screw, that last bolt in. And this is why you leave it loose on the other side. This is way easier with a buddy, but Carl's not coming over till later today, so I guess I'm on my own. I could ask my wife. I don't know. I might have to put a ratchet strap on this and just pull it in a little bit. Let me do that. Alright, let's see. This should work. Let me see. Alright. Look at that. Alright, that's one way to do it. Right there. It's a little bit ungainly. But now that I have it on, well, now I can go in and I just snug these down. I don't ever put Loctite on these because they're just threaded inserts. And what I found is I just snug them up with a nut driver and they don't move. So that's how I do it. I don't know what the manual says. I didn't get one, but that's how I'm going to do it here. One of the challenges that I've found with a dual petcock motorcycle like this is each individual petcock needs its own fuel line to get over to the carburetor. And with this one in particular, you have to merge both fuel lines into a single fuel line before it goes into the single carburetor. Now last year I did this by running a fuel line with an individual fuel filter like this into that T-fitting you see right there. And it worked okay. But what I found is it was a little bit complex. It had a lot of fuel clamps all the way along the system where potential leaks could happen. And the fuel filters themselves, especially on the driver's side, this got dangerously close to my exhaust and actually melted through in one road trip that we had. So this year I'm going to change that up a little bit, and I'm going to use one of these. This is a 90-degree fuel filter, and I'm going to put this right up near the carburetor itself. The fuel lines will run into that T and then straight up through the T-pipe into that fuel filter and ultimately into the carburetor. Now I think this is going to work fairly well. I don't see any problems with the fuel filter being that close to the carburetor, and it should just make it look a lot better and be less complex. So why don't we get to work on this now and get the fuel lines back in the bike. I'll use some Tygon fuel line here. Yeah, I think this is 3/8 inside diameter, and I'll fasten it to the first petcock with one of these little fuel clips. Next, I'm going to line up and trim the fuel line so that I can fit that brass T in. So I'm going to twist it down inside, and then I'll fasten it again with a little fuel clamp there. And you can see this makes a nice straight line up to that 90-degree fuel filter. So I'll cut a small piece of fuel line here, and I'll put it in between the brass and the fuel filter. And observant people will see that I don't have a fuel clamp on the one side of that fuel filter up there. I have to get that in place. I forgot to put it on. Now I'll switch my attention over to the right side of the bike. And again, I'll fasten a long piece of this Tygon fuel line on, put it on with a fuel clip. I'm going to feed it back in here by the rear brake master cylinder, and I'm going to fasten it very loosely with a zip tie. So this is tight enough to hold it in place so it doesn't get in contact with the exhaust, but not so tight that it might restrict fuel flow. Now I'll just sort of eyeball it up here and trim off the excess and just fasten it onto the brass fuel clip or fuel pipe and put the fuel clip on. And really the last thing I have to do is I'm gonna again fasten it loosely with a zip tie here, just so it doesn't move around too much when I'm out riding. Now once I zip off the zip tie here, I think we're about ready to put some fuel in the bike. It's been sitting a long time without running. That ain't too bad. I needed to bring some fuel into the carburetor, I think. Okay, I've got the bike just outside warming up, and I want to take it for a little bit of a test ride. It's been a few months since I've been out on it, and I want to see how some of the changes are doing that I've made. So I'll put my coat on, get my boots on, and take it for a little ride, and I'll see you back in the tinker shed with my final thoughts. I think I've gained some weight. The coat seems a little tighter. Well, this tank is a really, really great tank. I'm not knocking any of the other brands, Chirby's, all the other ones that are out there. I just happen to own this one, and it does everything that I need. Now, some people do complain about it being high-centered, too much fuel up high. Like I said, I don't notice that. I find it rides really good. And the width of the tank provides me almost like a fairing for my legs. It's actually quite comfortable. Now, this was the first ride that I had out there with the new Pro Cycle Jet Kit installed. It's running okay, but I have to say my modified airbox door was letting way too much air in, and it was running super lean on the mid-range. It would just fall right on its face. I put the factory door back on, and all of a sudden it cleaned the mid-range right up. So I know that I've got a little bit of monkeying around to get this thing to run exactly the way I want. And I may actually put the factory tank on for the tuning, just so I don't have to deal with this size of tank. I can't even get the plugs out when this tank is on, and that's one of the disadvantages to an oversized tank, is it sort of sweeps down around there. But anyway, that's for another day. Until then, I'm Dino. I hope that you have yourself a great day and you stop by soon again here on Dino's Tinker Shed. I guess I better get back to work.